I'm Andrew Zimmern. And today, we're gonna make a delicious steakhouse chopped salad, 11 different elements, green goddess dressing, and while you made it, you had a chance to learn how to chop, dice, and mince. Stick around, you're gonna love this one. Okay, now the first thing that I wanna show you is the dressing. I am making my classic green goddess dressing. I've got my tarragon, my parsley, my Worcestershire, my red wine vinegar. I'm gonna take my lemon and I'm gonna squeeze it, and I don't want those seeds pureed into my green goddess dressing. I'm going to indiscriminately chop my scallion. Here are my anchovies in oil. And I like to put them in along with some of their oil. I like to put a little bit of basil in there. And once you have all of those components in there, just give it a little pulse. Then you can let it run for a couple seconds, and then scrape down the sides of the bowl. Or more liquids in the form of fat. A little bit of sour cream and a slightly larger amount mayonnaise. I do like black pepper in there, and I do want a little bit of salt. This goes into the fridge while we proceed with everything else, and it will come back out when we're ready to eat. Next lesson in coarsely chopping. I'm gonna go a little smaller here so that all of these vegetables have a chance, along with the lemon juice, to put their flavor into that water. I'm aiming for everything here to be about 1/3 or 1/4 of an inch. I have an onion. Now, traditionally, I will cut it into quarters, lay it on its side, and make 4 strokes through it. Now, I want everything to be about 1/3 to 1/2 of an inch wide. And the reason is I want it to cook and put its flavor into this water. Once that comes to a simmer, I'm gonna let it cook for about 5 minutes. It's going to make a fantastic courts so that when I cook my shrimp, all of the flavor from those vegetables is gonna go in here. Now, I want a nice sharp knife, and I'm just gonna lay this flat, slice them in half, and then cook them. We'll get kind of a corkscrew shape. So there are all my shrimp. All right, so I'm going to slice my tomatoes in half. I'm just placing them on the counter, gripping them around the waist, putting my knife in the middle and drawing it through. That's probably enough cherry tomatoes. This is a long, thin chef's knife, right? And it's that hybridized Japanese French style. But look at how long and thin that blade is. It could almost be a short slicing knife. I'm gonna do quarters. I just push it through. Push it through, push it through, and dive. And I'm just chopping down on that with my knife, and it is the first layer in my salad. I have a beautiful heart of romaine lettuce. I'm gonna chop it in roughly 1/2 inch. That's ready for my shrimp, and I want to slide this in, sort of pay attention to it. Raise the temperature on that for a second. Turn it off. Now, why do I turn it off? A 1/2 of a 16-20 count shrimp is very thin. It needs about 4 or 5 minutes in there to just steep like a tea bag. They're just gonna rest there in the hot water. The slower that you cook your shrimp, the more tender your shrimp are gonna be. So, I just wanna make sure I get all the shrimp out there. These are all now chilled all the way through. I'm just gonna fish these out. Celery ribs, these are beauties. And I'm just chopping this at a 45-degree angle. You can see how different everything is looking. So let's blanch some green beans. Then we're gonna take them and put them into ice and then into this bowl. And then we're gonna cut those probably about the size of the peas. So I have all of these green beans. They're just in perfect shape. I want them to rest for about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. And then I'm going to circulate them into that ice water to drop them in temperature immediately. Red onion. I am going to make sure that I leave the stem end attached. So all I want to do is go into the onion and pull it out. And when I pull it out, I'm cutting almost all the way to the root end of that onion. Just slice through and draw it back. Slice through at the top and draw it back. Slice through again and draw it back. One more, slice through at the top, draw it back. And you can see here how I've made cuts that are all 1/4 inch apart. And now I'm going to make cuts that are 1/4 inch apart. We are doing what is called a more casual 1/4 inch dice, right? Okay, so this has been resting for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then all I do is push them down into that ice water, and within about 30 seconds, they are so cold, they have stopped cooking. And we can just let them sit in there until we're ready to dice those. Poblano pepper. I just cut these pieces into 1/4 inch wide strips. Doesn't matter whether some are 5 inches long or 3 inches long. I just cut them into 1/4 inch strips. All you want to do is dice these 1/4 inch apart every time. All right, mincing. This is the classic 8-inch hikari. The first thing that I want to do is put what I call a coarse chop on it, one way, and then the other way. I don't know if you call that heavily chopped or coarsely minced, but it's not minced. Minced is much finer than this. Chives with a nice wet paper toweling wrapped around it to hold it. And just focus on one part of the knife. I am cutting these in the exact same place on my blade. And it's nice to have these fresh herbs. Okay, first beautiful green beans of the year. Look at how stunning the tips of these are. And the reason that I'm lining all those tips up is I want to put all of these pieces down first. And then a nice dice of green beans. Some red onion next to that. My green pepper next to that. And then I'm gonna do my tomatoes. You notice I'm alternating between the green elements. I think that's a very important consideration. Little pile of celery, peas, equal amount on either end. This is the easiest part because I just put these above where the celery is. And then just put these in a couple piles. I'm just making piles and layers on piles. You can put some parsley on top of the shrimp. Take some chives on top of the eggs. And I would put this down on a table along with the bowl of dressing and some serving utensils and say, there you go. That's a beautiful chopped salad. And the dressing, it's much thicker now coming out than when it went in. So there you have it. You've learned how to chop, dice, and mince, what the differences are, how to use a whole variety of different shaped knives to do so, and why. And at the end of the day, you've got this beautiful, delicious warm weather salad to boot. Well, it's really good any time of year. I mean, who's kidding who? It's a salad. You're gonna love it.